Unexpected Journey, Memoir of a Siberian Deportee by Juzė Avižienytė-Žukauskienė. Translated from Lithuanian and narrated by Giedrė Kumpikas, niece of the author, and by Isabelle Kumpikas, the sister of the author. Chapter 80. Parents' Meeting, Eternal Defense. After the commandant announced to us deportees that we would stay where we were for our entire life and forcibly brought back the children when they had been returned to Lithuania, they began to arrest the adults one by one. Our mood fell, as did our desire to work. Juozukas began to do poorly in his studies, and not only Juozukas, but the others also studied without any enthusiasm. Such pupils as Jonas Vileišis, Jūratė Jasinskaitė, Liuda Ambrazevičiūtė, Rachelė Marijampolskaitė, and Juozas Žukauskas were the stars of the class. According to one of the teachers, the high performance scores of the school are exclusively due to the Lithuanians. In the year 1953, these young people were already seniors. It was the last trimester. Their performance was plummeting. A meeting of the parents is called. The first to speak is the Zavuch, the director of instruction. He discusses the progress of the students, rather their falling behind, their behavior, their mood. I sat there with an indifferent face. I think it's not my worry, but I am awakened from my apathy by the inspector's words. Even Žukauskas, he was an excellent student, one of the top, a good artist, but lately he has become quite lax. He seems almost impassive. He doesn't even react to remarks. Then she turns directly to me, saying, "Here I see his mother seated. Perhaps she can explain what has happened to her son." I was in a very peaceable mood. I was not planning to react to the discussion and comments, but when the question is addressed directly to me, I have to respond, and I do. This is very unpleasant for me, and I regret very much that my bright, energetic, and not stupid son has fallen into hopelessness. I even find it difficult to look at you and listen to your remarks, when the whole reason for his lethargy is a careless remark of the physics teacher. Juozukas' dream upon finishing high school was to enter the Navy school and become a sailor. He expressed his desire to the teacher, Sukhorukov, and the latter killed him with one sentence: "Don't even dream of it. You'll never be accepted into any school. You are a deportee, and your bones will rot here." My son decided that he would not be able to apply himself to his studies or to anything here. For the work that we have to do here, we already have too much learning. There is a bustling in the hall. After my speech, a woman doctor, a communist, stands up. I have not seen her in the room before. She is seated 4 rows closer to the podium. "That one there," she says, pointing at me over her shoulder with her thumb, "is talking nonsense. From that talk, it is obvious what kind of atmosphere there is at home. What an upbringing. In the Soviet Union, all have the right to an education. But what can a school do with such lazy ones? Your children are in school for 5 or 6 hours, and they are home by 6 or 7 o'clock. The whispering in the hall subsides. I become angry, but I try to maintain my self-control, since I did not know who my opponent is. I see only that she was neither a collective farmer nor a laborer. I ask to speak again. Because I am so angry, I try to keep calm and keep my voice from trembling as I say, "Please excuse me and allow me to answer the citizen who spoke before me. I regret that I do not know her name or last name. I have lived in Europe too long, where it is not customary to point over one's shoulder with your thumb at a person and say, 'That one, that one.'" There are whispers in the hall and smiles. My opponent has stated quite angrily that in the Soviet Union all have the right to study. Yes, here locally they have the right and they study, but not all have the right to leave this region. I see that among those present there are security officials. Perhaps they will explain to my respected opponent, who it seems is not fully informed about the situation, while the teacher Sukhorukov perhaps really knows who will and who will not be able to leave to study elsewhere. A second reproach made by the speaker was that the atmosphere and desire to study are created in the home, that world perspective is formed at home. It seems to me that here too my opponent is mistaken. Our children stay in school 5 to 6 hours. They spend another 1 to 2 hours on the way to and from school. They come home. Usually they do not find their parents because they have not yet returned from work. As soon as the mother comes home, she must send a child out. Go, give the cow some water. Run, fetch some firewood. Run, get some water. Sit down and do your homework. The chores around the house and homework take about 4 or 5 hours. And so it is 11 or 12 o'clock. They need time to sleep. So there is your 24 hours. For those children who live in the dormitory or who rent a room, the parents, usually just the mother, the father is at war, see them only late in the evening, on Saturdays, when they come home. The only other day when parents can spend with their children is Sunday, and not everyone at that. But on Sunday, the mother is rushing about, laundering and mending clothing, preparing food for the week, washing and heating the banya. So there is no time left for upbringing and instilling attitudes. In the meantime, the teachers have 5 or 6 hours every day for the teaching and upbringing of our children. I would say that it is a lot of time. As you know, the priest in pre-revolutionary times had only a half hour a week to convey his ideas, and he educated people and instilled his ideas in such a way that it is decades already, and you cannot pull out those roots. There is laughter in the hall, a bustling talking. My opponent is silent. Besides, at this meeting, students who will graduate this year are also present. As the meeting is nearing its end, the director invites some parents to come to the teacher's room. My son and I are among the names mentioned. We assemble. The director, with an angry face, shuffles through some leaflets. He calls upon one student. "You are expelled." The mother and son are confused and ask that the son be allowed to stay in school. They explain why he is falling behind. The mother has been sick. The son has had to help around the house. No excuses. He's lazy. 4 2s, failures. He's dismissed from school. This is again the angry voice of the director. He reads off a second, a third name, and still angry. Expelled, thrown out. Finally, Zhukauskas, 3 2s, expelled. Yozukas turns pale. I become confused. Has he really received 3 failures? He has never boasted to me of an accomplishment like this. Really? I ask Yozukas. I don't know where those 2s came from. I've never gotten such grades. I turn to the teachers who are sitting right there and say, perhaps the teachers could explain what subjects these failures are in and whether the situation is hopeless. There are more than 2 months left until the end of the school year. Maybe it's still possible to correct the situation. The teachers glance at each other. No one admits having given Zhukauskas such a grade. The class leader suggests they check the class register. I offer to help. In what subjects are the 2s? I ask the teachers. It's easier to check that way. They all shrug their shoulders. The director speaks up. In algebra, physics, and history, the most important subjects, there can be no adjustments. The mathematics teacher reacts in a lively fashion. In my subjects, algebra and geometry, Zhukauskas only has good and excellent. There can be no 2. We check. It appears that in all the subjects, the grades are good. There are 3s in history and physics, but they're 3s, not 2s. And here's the explanation. The lines of the register, when you turn the page, do not line up, and Zaitsev's grades have been entered for Zhukauskas. Yozukas is himself again, but I became very angry, asking, so who made such a mistake? It appears that the director himself was looking for the underachievers and had apparently been trying to punish those for whom he had antipathy, those that he dislikes. I continue. Here, students make mistakes. They get 2s, but those are not fatal mistakes. They can be corrected. But what grade should one give to a director of teachers who makes an error so fatal that it can ruin a young person's whole life? It's good that I am here, but what would have happened if my son had simply informed me of the fact that he has been dismissed from school, kicked out of school? That would mean that all his life's roads were blocked. Does the director understand the importance of his mistake? And perhaps there is something similar with the other 3 students. The director appears uncomfortable. Anyone can make a mistake. Someone's voice is heard saying, "Yes, mistakes can happen, but to make a fateful mistake which could destroy a person's life is not permissible to anyone, especially a pedagogue. Before announcing such a decision, one must verify the facts thoroughly," the mathematician puts forth quietly and peacefully. Everything ends well. We separate to go our ways. The mathematician, the Jew Salom Abramovich, and the inspector Isaida Fyodorovna accompany me. From then I hear many bitter words against the director and many warm ones for me. Jozukas finishes school without any more 3s, and the following year the director is changed. I do not know the real reason for the change. There is talk that while working somewhere else before he came to Parbig, he had committed some criminal act, and for that he is at last going to be tried. All the other Lithuanians also finish school. 2 of Jozukas' Russian classmates are drafted into the army. One of them, Shalim, sends Jozukas a letter in a couple of months. He says he has been assigned to maritime school and that it is very difficult. "It's good that you didn't make it," his fellow students joke. "The sea is beautiful from the shore, a ship in pictures, but not swaying the way people do to the music in a restaurant. Хорошо море обрега. Корабль на картинке, а качка в ресторане. After the death of Stalin, it was announced that students who had finished high school could all go study wherever they liked. A few of those who had graduated that year left for Tomsk. Among their number was also the best mathematician in the class, Jonas Vilešius. Once the mathematics teacher had asked him, "Vileši, was your father a professor?" "No, he was an ordinary laborer." The teacher, apparently disbelieving, said, "Well, if your father was not a professor, then you will definitely be a professor." But unfortunately, Vilešius, despite having received 5s on the entrance exams and having presented the same grades on his final report card, was not accepted into the institute. He did not pass the competitive entrance exam. Meanwhile, the weakest 3 students in the class, having barely passed the entrance exams with 3s, were admitted because the director was a Russian and a communist daughter. Almost all the Lithuanians had to be satisfied with technical schools, among them Jozukas, Birutė, and Jonukas, Stasys Ambrazevičiūtė. But some time having passed, they all finally graduated from the institutes and received diplomas of higher learning, some in medicine, some in engineering, some in geology, and other fields. Notes: the grading system in Russia was based on 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, equivalent to an A, and 2 being a failing grade. Vileši, this is the form, vocative case of Vilešius used in direct address.